Good afternoon, everyone. On the behalf of Department of Computer Applications, I would like to invite you all and welcome you all on the first webinar of Department of Computer Applications. Now we have started with a very vibrant topic, that is impact of artificial intelligence and blockchain in the current scenario. Today's our esteemed speakers are Mr. Siddharth Das, Mr. Abhishek Bhattacharya, and Ms. Payal Garg. These all are the renowned persons from their industries. And my colleagues are Dr. Neha Gupta and Dr. Anupa Pankaj with all the other faculty members of FCA. Now I like to invite Dr. Anupa Pankaj to please share the profiles of our esteemed speakers and invite them for the presentations. Thank you.
Thank you, Shweta ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone. Hope everybody is fine at home. Are you able to listen to me, all of you?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, okay. If any problem is there, kindly let me know. So we are having this first webinar from Faculty of Computer Applications. We'll be having 3 presenters, as Dr. Shweta has already informed. So we'll be starting with Mr. Siddharth. Good evening, Siddharth. How are you?
Very, in fact, good afternoon, and
Yeah.
thank you so much for inviting me in. And I know it's a very, very dangerous topic to talk on, and you've given us only 20 minutes to talk on such a broad thing. But let's see, whatever justice at least I can do, I'll try to do that justice.
Yeah. Thanks, Siddharth, Abhishek, and Payal. She'll be joining soon for sparing time on Saturday. So we are working hard during this pandemic. So I think it's time to start. Let me introduce our first presenter, that is Mr. Siddharth Das. Mr. Siddharth Das is a vibrant personality among us. Mr. Siddharth is an entrepreneur with a passion in natural language processing and sentiment analysis, and along with various upcoming next generation technologies. I'm very impressed with your profile, Siddharth. You are also having 19 plus years of experience in business HR. Very nice. Thank you so much for coming over here. Siddharth, what will be sharing? What topic you will be having with us today in your presentation?
So what I wish to do and how I've choreographed this thing is to bring. I hope I'm audible, right?
Yeah.
So to bring a context of AI in the real use case of business, actually, if you really see, artificial intelligence is a very, very wide topic, right? But I would like to give a context to HR in terms of how do we use artificial intelligence there, and that's where I think I'll be able to do justice, because that's where I've spent most of my 18 to 20 years of my time, actually.
Okay, Siddharth, my obvious question after this presentation will be role of AI in this scenario of COVID-19. So yes, you have to tell me the role of AI, and I think it is playing very important role during this situation of ours. So kindly let us start with the presentation. Can you share your screen so that I can put your content live?
Sure. So you will have to stop sharing.
Yeah. You kindly share yours.
I hope you can see my screen.
Yes. I am putting you live so that everybody can see your presentation.
Okay.
So let's start.
So I in fact, good afternoon everyone, and I can only start by praying. I hope everyone is safe and sound, and let us all fight together to come out of this pandemic, at least in your own respective responsibility areas or zones that you're in. So, the topic that I have got is, and which I would like to kind of work upon, and which I worked upon and wanted to bring it forth, the use of AI in the real business context. All the more reason for us to understand AI in the world of, in today's world, is basically to have a context to how do you deal with situations like this, and how it can be a very, very useful a concept to go ahead and make people work with the same zeal, have reports, productivity coming out, in terms of a very new setup, which is the home setup. And third is how do you have a very, very strong engagement with your people that who's working across from various geographies. And last but not the least is how do you drive performance through AI. So I think that's what I would like to talk upon. Uh, so what to quickly let you know, I have been associated with this organization for about, this is my 14th year running. I joined them as an assistant manager, and currently I'm working. I'm holding the post of a president here. And what I do is I have loved the subject of HR, and that's where I have spent most of my time. More than a practitioner is the subject itself, which teaches you so many things, because there are two very important things here. One is psychology, second is compliance, and third is technology. All the three things put together, it becomes a very, very powerful tool. And so while we were designing a lot of products internally, we got introduced to AI some about four and a half, about 3 years to be precise, where we started using. And since I belong to this part of the industry, and as a subject, I would like to throw some use case in terms of how do you look at data and how AI is used, right? The core objective of Stratemis HR Technologies is to provide an AI-driven modular framework to make HR instinctive for operating managers. So that's the objective that we carry. Now, before I start, let me just quickly put some classification points, which typically one would usually come out, especially in the HR world, right? Questions like, will my candidate join? The candidate was very excited when they placed the offer, but somehow the candidate did not join, right? I thought the job description was correct, but there seems to be a huge problem when the real work with the job description was being displayed when he or she moved to the production floor, right? Do I have a heat check method to gauge the joining probability, right? My employees engaged. Now this line is a very powerful line in terms of whether my employees are engaged when they're working in office. Are my employees engaged when they are not working in office and they are working in some remote area, and specifically in a situation like this where we are all of us right now? How can I increase my training participation, right? Is it a forced, are you forcing somebody to join a training, or somebody has been able to derive that I need to get trained on this because I lack this skill, right? Can I know my capacity numbers beforehand to make a very, very concrete decision in terms of how my next quarter on quarter planning would happen? Are my assumptions and hypotheses, again, these are two very, very important and concepts that we use when we are designing a model in artificial intelligence, especially on any context. Here right now I'm using the context of HR. It can be any context that you could use. Is my succession planning method adding to the business cause of cost and returns? And last but not the least is that one of the most important questions that can I wear the hat of a CXO, right? Who looks at the entire organization from a holistic view. Supporting these questions are three most important pieces. It's an effective model to describe a data flow, right? Number one, an effective model to predict performance, right? And an effective model to predict trends, right? So these are I would like to start this journey with these two broad items we call as a classification of problems that we day on day life. And also, are we using the right model? And right now, going back to the next slide, rolling out an artificial intelligence project is not something that you can achieve in 1 year or 2 years, right? It took us some good 6 years and 4 years to go ahead and to organize one very important piece for artificial intelligence, which is called data, right? And without data, the word transformation would not be there. And without the word transformation, you cannot have a digital engagement within the organization, right? And on the left hand side, you see I've placed the Excel sheet. How much of love do we have for Excel? And especially in the HR community, it was getting very difficult for us to say goodbye to Excel and come to an automated machine, okay, which basically giving you as powerful qualities or as powerful inferences that an Excel sheet would give you. I'm not saying that Excel is, I think I personally love Excel, but yeah, the transformation took a lot of time. Having said that, it also took us a lot of time to reach to the level where we are right now. So how did we reach to that? So first step was to basically build models to collect data, right? We broke data into two parts, intrinsic data and extrinsic data. And then we broke the suppliers of those data. And finally, we brought them to a platform to process the data, right? So in about 3 years, the only thing that we did was having unsupervised, unstructured data, bringing it into a single engine. That's the only role that we did. And there onwards, we went on building the models from there onwards, right? So how the evolve our step-by-step process took place. First, we built micro product modules to pull in the data. Then we wanted a base, so we designed the entire core HRMS product that's going to support the micro modules. Then we got bot and bot, we kind of placed it in two important buckets. One was a rule-based bot and one was a predictive bot. And there again, the engine got run in the backend. And last but not the least is AI will fail if it cannot predict data and analytics out of it. And that's what Stratemis does. And that's what the journey of Stratemis is all about, right? We come in 4 offering. We bring in micro module. We bring in a core HRMS ERP. We have bots, and then finally we have analytics to go ahead and display results and reports. Now let's break AI, right, in a real business use case here. We've used AI at the time of talent acquisition. We've used AI at the time of transitioning an employee from day 0 or day 1 to about day 180. We've used again AI in the learning agility or the learning capability of an employee, right? We've used AI in retention, conversation, and prediction. So these are some of the broad pillars, and we bifurcated the entire life cycle of an employee into small little pockets of data, and that's how we broke those stages, right? With AI, one very important piece comes in is NLP, and I'm sure this is something which all of us would have heard, right? Which is nothing but a natural language programming. So we designed these small little NLPs to enable us to capture data from one stage to the other, and then finally bring those data points to a platform which helped us basically analyze the data, number one, and then most importantly is to predict in terms of prediction in terms of action, prediction in terms of results, and prediction in terms of a future forward-looking trends, right? And bots obviously helps you in the primary data collection, where your engagement with employees is happening. So what we've been able to do, we've been able to convert in the last 6 years, we've been able to convert static and unstructured HR data into meaningful conversational analytics, number one. We've been able to replace a conventional ERP framework through a modular and AI-based first engagement model. So you've heard about the mobile first, you've heard about analytics first, but we've said AI first, and this is AI-based first engagement model. We've been able to design algorithms using natural language libraries, right? We've been able to mature the product and the algorithm to an extent where we've been able to draw some meaningful sentiment analytics out of the product. Obviously, robotics has been used, and again, robotics comes under Python, and Python comes under NLP. So all these are encompasses together, where it's breaking monotony of work that typically, we've broken monotony of repeated work, and where the machine can do most of the work right now. We've used a very strong concept of API, and that's where Python comes in place. And since I'm addressing to the faculty of computer application and like-minded people, so the word of I will be stretching a little bit more on into technology here. So we've used API and we've used Python. Python enables you to go ahead and create a very strong API framework across various libraries. And last but not the least, to scale up and to address to the needs of the market, we've been able to SaaSify our entire so-called use of complete end-to-end SaaS model with a multi-tenant framework, right? So these are some of the broad aspects that we've been able to achieve in last 5 to 6 years time, right? Now let's break at the market and let's look at what the market needs, right? And whatever we design is obviously for a customer, right? And the customer belongs to a market. So typically the market is based across three important headcounts, right? Which is like a small enterprise startup headcount for till about 500 employees. The mid segment will have about anything between 501 to about 2,500 employees, and large enterprise would have about 2,500 plus employees, right? So this is how we've categorized our offerings there. On the left hand side, we've also tried looking at what is the customer maturity of digitalization, right? So when you're looking at a small enterprise startup level, there will be companies who are currently working on Excel maybe or still manual, but they're looking for a microservices and easy to use intelligent bots, right? This is our first introduction of the AI use case into this set of organization. Then the second set of organization, which comprises about 501 to about 2,500 employee base, they would have used some HR product in some form or the other, but they might be looking for a pure HRMS product which covers the end-to-end and end-to-end life cycle. Having said that, they would also look at they will try to come out of the silo products that they're using, right? So they're looking for a quick implementation, simple integration, scalable solutions, customized reporting and dashboard, right? Last but not the least is a large enterprise would basically look at, they would probably using a core HRMS, and they're also looking at AI enabled solutions to go ahead and looking at to bring in a very, very strong, meaningful analytics, right? So now that we've understood what Stratemis does, we've understood how what are some of the capabilities that we bring in, and now that we've understood the market, right? So let's look at how we break the entire life cycle, and this is the first journey that happens for any AI implementation that we've been able to do. So on the left hand side, we've been able to break the modules that's predominantly the requirement of the market, all right? And this has a very strong context to a situation like this in terms of where you're actually implementing an AI project or an AI platform for customers to use it when they're actually not working in office, but they're actually working on data of office and is predicting data of office, right? So we broke the life cycle. Okay, on the left hand side are the modules, and then we broke the life cycle between 0 to 6 months, 7 to 12 months, and advance of 12 months here, right? The reason we broke is because when we are introducing the NLPs here, the NLPs will have a certain set of data in 0 to 6 months time. We'll have a certain set of data in 7 to 12 months time, and then we'll have a certain kind of data, a little more mature data when it comes to 12 months, when the employee passes the 12 months, right? And then requirement is how do you, in the early stage, how do you build a JD? Okay, how do you map a JD to an assessment? How do you do digital sourcing, digital onboarding, profiling and compensation, creating a roadmap, confirmation assessment, early stage engagement? Some of the key ones of the market. Now, if I bring this context to a pandemic situation like this, I very happily can go ahead and take a video interview. I can assess the person through using artificial intelligence on his body language. I can bring in a Big Five model to go and represent the behavioral traits that the person is showing. I can do a profiling and compensation because my system is connected now with my office system, and I can look at a total, and then I can go ahead and create a early stage engagement with the employee, right? Without even me stepping out from home and the candidate actually stepping out from home. Now, next stage comes is performance management, succession planning. Two very important and strong topics for the HR domain, right? Where a huge scale of NLPs have been used here, all right? And then predictions have been used here to go ahead and predict the performance and then do a successive planning for an employee, followed by a training identification, right? So, and this is how we've broken the entire market requirement. And then on the right-hand side, we started solutionizing, and that's where step-by-step process took place in terms of how do you build a JD without a manual intervention? How do you map a JD? How do you digitally onboard a person by using concept like a web check-in kind of concept, where we have used image recognition as a very, very strong NLP there. Now NLP, which brings in an image recognition as an output, right? So when I'm talking about this entire framework here, let me also talk about what are some of the probable NLPs that we've used, right? So there are about 9 NLPs we've used in the entire context of AI, and this you can I don't need to walk you through this entire thing. So for your OCR, we've used one set of NLP, right? For your conversion of images, we've used a second set of NLP, right? We've used stats model to go ahead and do forecasting of especially to Arima and to Serimax. We've used Panda, we've used NLTK, OpenCV, Skype, and Python ZAR, right? So that's something for your QR code reading. So these are some of the very useful NLPs that has come into the HR context, and we have used this entire context into our Python programming, specifically when we are bringing AI in the use case context of HR, right? Now let me break this whole concept of AI into predominantly 5-6 parts here, right? When we talk, I know it's the most used word and also is the most abused word at this point of time in the market, right? So typically, if you look at on the left-hand side, the entire artificial intelligence has been broken down into various components of artificial intelligence. And then since we were part of the HR, there's few things that we use. We've used predictive analytics as a very, very strong fundamental there. We've used machine learning as second. We've used NLP for all our sentiments. We've used speech to text. We've used text to speech, right? And then we've also used image recognition. And then we broke the entire piece across the life cycle of an employee, all right? And we also then started placing those NLPs, which NLP will come into place under which life cycle of an employee. So this is the entire breakup of the model, which basically converts your unsupervised data and supervised data and converting into supervised data. The unsupervised data has been broken down, data that comes from your peer-to-peer interaction, your org interaction, your functional interaction, your cross-functional interaction, and then the other data comes in terms of a psychometric behavior phase that you're showing through the NLP engine that we kind of push it to the employee, right? Since we're talking about NLP and we're talking about Python, so we also need to understand the technology stack, right? So typically mobile first. If we cannot give data in mobile, obviously it is useless at this point of time. You need to have a very, very strong secured layout data encryption there, right? And then you need to have specific browsers under which browsers that we use. So which is nothing but the user and UI UX, right? This is the user side. On the auto scaling side, this is where the enterprise side comes in, where PHP and Python applications are being hosted, and then typically artificial intelligence capabilities like sentiment analysis, NLP, which is natural language programming, optical character recognition, and predictive analytics. Over and above, we do a lot of work on geofencing and geotagging, and then we have bots, Python bots, which has API integration and prediction capability into the system. Two very important databases that we use MySQL, and then we use MongoDB as one of the core technology stack component from us. Now that I've spoken about it, let me just quickly show you some predictive data, how and the game changers for HR, right? So I have broken this data into 3 parts. Okay, a recruitment data, I've then a headcount data and an attrition data. So let me just touch upon a recruitment data now. Now the recruitment data has been broken down. Analytics in AI has basically 4 very, very important pieces. One is your descriptive analytics. Second is the predictive, as we all know, diagnostic and prescriptive, right? I'm going to touch on upon the descriptive and predictive here. Prescriptive we do, but we do prescriptive more at a skill mapping and a competency mapping prescriptions, right? So typically this dashboard that you see in front of you, it's a descriptive, fairly simple descriptive data here. You have a target, you have an achievement, you have gaps, right? And then you have a monthly target and achievement. And out here on the right hand side, when I break down the recruitment process, I can look at an intent, I can look at a candidate, right? Fairly simple data point to understand and build some inferences basis without the help of a machine, right? The moment I go to the next level and I break data now, and we thought it'll be very interesting to use AI and then see whether the person is going to join or not, right? Which is also part of recruitment, which is nothing but a predictive dashboard. So how we've done is that we've used the bot to go ahead and interact with the candidate. Okay, the candidate is still not an employee, still a candidate, right? The letter of intent has gone. And they're huge engagements there, and we broke the entire engagement into various layers here, right? These engagements were weighted, and these engagements were given a probability score, a statistical probability score, and then we looked at an R value for an accuracy, and then finally we came to a probability of joining. Now, moment you turn the table now, you see it's giving you a very different perspective to look at data, right? Now, either there could be huge Excel sheets we would have taken out and looked at analytics, and then we've drawn some conclusion. But here it is fairly simple. You have a bot, the bot is interacting with you. There are some good sentimental engagement that's happening with the employee, the candidate. The candidate is replying. The bot is bringing the data, which is unsupervised still right now, bringing into a supervised engine, giving you a probability out there, and then finally showing you an inclination to join, which is on the right hand side, right? Now, if you really practically see, one person has launched the bot link to, let's say, 1,000 people who are supposed to join. And it has given you the list of 1,000 people out here and has given you the probability inclination score, right? And this is not something that I'm showing you out of picture. This is a live data I'm showing you that we've implemented with one of the client, right? And this is how your data breakup happens across the entire mechanics of recruitment predictive analytics that we've used in recruitment, right? Now let's look at a headcount report. Okay. Now this is again a fairly descriptive headcount report, right? Which basically shows your opening headcount, your closing headcount, your new joinings for the month, your voluntary attrition, and an involuntary attrition. It has no inferences that has been built here, right? It has no prediction. It's a fairly simple data collection, but just organized data, which is giving you a graphical representation of how it should look like, right? Now, moment I go to next step and I look at a month-on-month headcount and it is prediction, the engine is now predicting that what is going to be your closing headcount in next 3 months and your opening headcount in next 3 months, right? Now, this is where the analytical prediction is happening on Python using statistical inferences of data recorded from January till about September. It has looked at variation. It has looked at a normal bell curve. It has gone ahead and reduced your standard deviations, right? And have gone ahead and given you an output, right? Now, this is a headcount and an attrition report prediction, right? Now, let's look at the attrition prediction. One very big question comes in is that how will you predict that somebody is going to leave, right? I still say nobody can be accurate, even machines can't be accurate here, right? But we can be closer to reality. And how we can be closer to reality is when we have multiple sources of information that is coming in, and the multiple source of information is actually getting into an engine to run a model, a hypothetical model, and the hypothetical model will help HR go ahead and understand the concept of HR using technology, right? So we have the first data point, which is coming from a bot's engagement data. A demographic data will help you to understand to clone the attrition, historical attrition from those demographies, and demography can be broken down into various aspects, right? You can have supervisor data which is flowing in, our feedback about the employee. You can have an individual engagement data coming in from various sources. You can have a 360 data, which is basically a 360 feedback data coming about the employee. HR can go ahead and conduct a stay interview process. The system can look at, integrate to your leave management system and look at your pattern of leaves that you've taken. It can read your performance. It can look at a motivational measure check through engagement bots, and then it can also go ahead and look at a learning agility of the person, right? With all these data, okay, it gives an output like this, which is nothing but the retention analytics, right? And these are some broad, I would say, variables, right? Through which your probability indexes gets created, and these are variables, and these variables will have an infinity number, and the infinity number will fall into the hypothesis, right? And this is how basically your retention analytics basically gets projected to HR. Now, imagine when you have a data like this, which is coming into an HR before he or she is going to a conversation, right? And this conversation need not be in office. This conversation can be somebody working at home, where you've actually used the data in the right way, and you're actually having a very, very meaningful conversation now with an employee to either to retain the person or to let go the person, right? Two very important data points out here, which I've not highlighted in green, is compensation data and your supervisor mentor. The reason behind is that no compensation is a better compensation for anyone, and every supervisor is the biggest enemy of an employee, right? So that's the reason we've kept it outside the analytics, and then we've used a reverse questioning to go ahead and get the data out of that, right? So this is how we basically look at a attrition analysis and a prediction in the real use case data, at least in use case of HR, right? Okay, now let's look at how bots play a very important role, especially when it comes to the context of sentiment analysis, right? So we have various NLPs that we've kind of built in, and we broke it down into interaction day 30 for any employee who's joined in. They interact with the bot, and then we bring out a sentiment analysis. Now, this sentiment analysis in 30 days might not give you the most accurate results, because the person has just joined and you just can't go out and take a decision based on that, right? So the second NLP which helps you to intertwine the data is basically interaction that's happening in the next 90 days. Now we see, is there a variance in terms of the engagement score between the two data points, right? And then finally, we looked at the 180 days. Now, when you're collecting data now from recruitment to onboarding to a 30-day, 90-day, and then finally to 180-day, the recipient of this data becomes extremely meaningful, number one. Secondly, this is a true use case of AI where it is actually showing a trend of data in terms of an upward trend or a downward trend, all right? And it is giving an inference to have a very meaningful discussion with the employee or with the customer, right? So this is again pure use case that we use currently, and we are getting a lot of good response from the market in terms of the way the data maturity is happening. And one of the biggest strengths that we've been able to bring in is, and I would like to advocate this, is this is my experience. The biggest challenge that the market is facing right now is actually the challenge of use case data. And because the lack of use case data, the modeling technique in the algorithm is taking a lot of time. And that's where the injection of data needs to happen every day, day in and day out, so that the model becomes accurate and the accuracy percentage becomes better and better on day basis, right? Last but not the least, I will conclude my conversation with the group out here is on three very important questions. Who's providing the data, the sanctity of the data, who is processing the data, and who's benefiting out of the data. If these three questions are being answered at the start of any project of use of artificial intelligence, I think it is going to make a lot of sense to basically narrow down the approach and also to reach to a level where you'll be able to go ahead and process the data and bring out a very, very meaningful results through the right use of artificial intelligence. I think with that note, I would like to thank you and hope I've been able to bring in some sense on how we use artificial intelligence in the use case data analytics.
Thank you so much, Siddharth. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Siddharth. Very, very nice presentation. You imparted a very good knowledge to all of us. There is one question in mind, Siddharth, that what is the assessment that can be used to test the intelligence of any machine?
Oh, great point. So there, intelligence of machine is basically from an output. That's number one, right? And when we look at intelligence of machine, there are 3-4 important data points that we have, right? One is code optimization, right? How the codes are getting optimized and what is the accuracy of those codes that you're coding. Number one, right? Second is when you take out the data from a system, we place the data in a statistical normal bell curve, right? And then we look at the deviation from the mean there, right? In terms of the output that we require. Lesser the deviation means the accuracy of data is better. That's the second checkpoint that we have. And third most important point that we do is, are we using the right statistical NLP or library to generate the output of the data? So these 3 points, ma'am, of course, there are many ways to look at testing of data. These 3 important points has actually helped me to design a very strong machine learning capability to do an RPA. And when we call RPA, basically we do a complete end-to-end processing through machine learning capability. So that this is my answer to your point, ma'am.
Oh, thank you so much. And what is the concept of Q learning?
What is the
concept of Q learning in artificial intelligence?
Q learning?
Yeah.
Are you talking about QUEUE, the Q, that Q learning?
Yes.
Okay. So again, a very interesting point. Now, Q learning can be used in various ways, right? Now, for example, if you let me give you a context on the HR side right now. It can be used at the human side. It can be used also in the machine side, right? On the human side is that you have factory of people who are coming in, and those factory of people are actually linked to a competency, behavior competency, right? And the behavior competency is actually creating gaps for each and every individual, which is part of a system, right? Now, what happens is that we go ahead and play NLPs now to bring in learning agility programs, right? When I say learning agility program, it basically queues up one program over the other, and then it gives you a learning ability chart for that particular employee, which is a step-by-step method. Now, if I bring this same context now to designing a system, right, we call it as a step-by-step waterfall modeling process when you're designing an algorithm in AI, right? And that's where we use the two contexts. There are two different contexts that's used, but it can be used in two different connotations actually.
Okay. Thank you so much, Siddharth. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hello. Hi, Siddharth. The session was very nice. There is a question from one of the anonymous user in question answer session. Can you please answer that?
If the question is not very tough, I'll try to answer.
Okay, the question is, it is from one of the user. He is asking how low risk, medium risk related to retention.
Can you just repeat the question once again, please?
Yeah, how low risk, medium risk is related to retention.
How is low risk or and a high risk is retention related to retention? Yes. Okay, great, interesting point. Now, what I had shown is when we take a stay interview as a process, right? And I'm just giving one very small example of stay interview, and this is the so that I can relate to the question. We create a early warning system model, right? An early warning system model is broken down into various aspects. Okay? We have a motivation aspect, we have an engagement aspect, we have hygiene aspect, and then we also have your skill level, skill which is converted into criticality, right? So when we break our entire model across 30, we've broken it down into 32 different points actually. The 32 different points are data points that is coming from various sources of interaction, right? So you have primary data and you also have secondary data there. Now, when we combine these two data into a model, it gives you an analytics, which is a low risk and a high risk, right? Of high risk of leaving basis a report and a low risk of leaving basis on a report. Now it is up to you how you want to read the data, right? Do you want to use you can read the data with a positive connotation, you can also read the data with a negative connotation, right? So that's how you read the data, and you can model the data in terms of an output. But what is important for the question to be answered is that there are various data points. Those data point needs to come into a model, and each data has a interlinking impact with the other data, right? And that's how the model gets created, and that's how we create variations in data.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Siddharth.
Thank you.
Next, we have Abhishek with us, Abhishek Bhattacharya. Abhishek, are you there? Abhishek?
Yes. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll briefly introduce Mr. Abhishek Bhattacharya. Abhishek is a co-founder at Whrrl and an ex-product owner for PolicyBazaar.com service product. Abhishek, I'm very impressed that along with the entrepreneur, you are also an author of very renowned books. So how do you manage time? Like, so it's very difficult to write books, and you have authored two books which are very popular, and also you were nominated for the top 50 tech leaders award at Intercon Dubai. Very nice, Abhishek. Thank you so much for coming over here and sparing your precious time on Saturday. So I think you will be sharing your views on blockchain.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yeah. That's my forte.
So, before you start your presentation, my question to you is, how blockchain do you think has the potential to shrink the poverty gap?
All right. Okay. All right. So should I start by answering your question, or should I answer your question at the end?
Kindly answer my question. I am very much curious. Then you can kindly start your presentation.
Right. So I would like to give a very short and direct answer to how blockchain can answer poverty. See, blockchain. What is blockchain all about? It is all about transparency, right? And and we are talking about the poverty in the country, right? So what happens? I'm audible, right? If any time I break, just let me know. I'll continue otherwise. So so what blockchain essentially does is it provides you an immutable ledger where you record all your transactions, everything that's happening in an economy or in a network, and just like currently in the centralized systems where maybe you tell your bank to deduct your account and give the amount to someone else, and what happens is a centralized bank like maybe Axis Bank takes care of that, and it does that ledger recording in his own ledger, which is very centralized, right? Which is just restricted to Axis Bank. And what blockchain provides it provides an immutable ledger, but it is also out in the open. It's public in most of the cases, if that is a public blockchain. So coming to a direct answer to that, without going much into blockchain concepts. So blockchain, when we apply it in any kind of an economy, especially while we are doing some transactions, or we are regularly implementing it on financial use cases, and especially financial use cases have seen the most impact of blockchain already. So people have started using it in education and all other sectors, but since the last 5-6 years at least, finance has seen a big boost by using blockchain. So direct answer is that if you're using transparency, so for example, just like the current government uses DBT and all such methods to provide whatever packages that the government draws up to provide these directly to the accounts. So this is one step that the government took at solving the problem of middlemen, where there was lack of transparency, and the middlemen didn't allow the entire amount to reach the migrants, the workers, and the below poverty line people. So so this could be the first step. The next step could be using a technology like blockchain. So if everything that is being recorded on blockchain is transparent, it's immutable, it's secure, and it's out in the open for scrutiny by any competitive authority, I believe that this transparency by itself, as it would be pretty common sense that applying such a technology would solve these problems which we have faced always in our country, where what gets released does not reach the hands of the poor, for whom that all those packages are generally released, right? So essentially that is where I believe how blockchain can be an answer, because of its core characteristics and its implementation scenarios in finance, in payments, in transactions, in cross-border payments, in such DBTs and such schemes. So that would be my answer. That would be a direct answer. So did I answer it, ma'am?
Yeah, thank you so much. And now you can kindly start with your presentation.
Right.
Are you able to share your presentation?
Just trying to do that. Let me know once it's visible. If is it visible?
Not now.
It would be coming in a minute. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you can see the presentation, right? Hello.
Yeah. I think there is a lag. It will take few seconds. Now it is appearing.
Yeah, you can see the slides, right? And I'm audible as well, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So I'll just continue. So welcome, guys. Thank you so much for joining us today on a Saturday afternoon. And I hope today is Saturday, right? Yes, on a Saturday afternoon. And thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much, Shweta, ma'am, to host me here today. Really honored to be here. And I believe so. My photo. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Blockchain, yes. My forte is blockchain, and I would love to impact some. I'd love to provide some knowledge and some knowledge sharing on blockchain and how it can be effective in the current scenario, the very tragic and trying are facing amidst this pandemic. So, and what the career prospects and what. So my focus today would be in these 20 minutes that I've been given. So my focus today would be to essentially discuss career prospects that we see in a post-COVID-19 era. Maybe after a few months, when the country would start coming out of complete lockdowns, and the normal life might start to resume, and then the kinds of problem that we would be facing, which have already started by now because of the incessant lockdowns in the last 2 months, 52 days, 53 days, and so technically this is going to be a big impact. It is going to be a big hit as expected to the Indian economy. And however we try to protect it, however good the government performs in trying to protect it as compared to other countries, but everyone is on the same boat, I believe, every country. And so it's going to be a worldwide, a global hit, and lots of opportunities, lots of issues would be coming in. People would be losing jobs, which have already started. I know a lot of people who, I personally know a lot of people who have either lost jobs or have received a significant cut in their salaries. And if this goes on, then they are even unsure about even would the jobs exist, even with that salary cut. And apart from, there are no new hirings happening, and then people who have come out of their colleges this year, who have passed out this year, are facing tremendous problems, because I can share you direct anecdotes. We are in, the startup that I run is an IIM Ahmedabad startup. So from such a brilliant college like IIM Ahmedabad, we received a notification that about 9 or 10 interns, about 9 or 10 their students had lost their internship offers, and they were brilliant offers with brilliant companies, believe me. And they lost it. I mean, they were taken back. The offers were taken back for such brilliant students. So I can pretty much assume what will happen with everyone else in the country, right? So so this is what we are seeing. So I believe that something that we discuss here is geared towards, targeted towards building up a career in blockchain particularly, but we cannot build a career in blockchain over 20 minutes. So I'll try to touch up on some facts that should, if students are especially listening to me today here, I would try to touch up on certain facts which would allow you to at least be motivated towards trying out such a technology, which is, I believe, is going really fast and has a lot of scope at the moment. And is something that you can try out, because there is competition, but there's not a lot of competition in it right now as compared to any other thing in India, and that like it usually happens. And essentially it should be, it's a very interesting technology. It's new. It is not the kind of computer science you've read and studied, which I did in my 4 years of engineering. It is not like that. It is based on similar principles, but it is pretty different when we talk about decentralization. And this is a new concept, and you have been living in a centralized world. And I would like to say that it is a much different world out there if blockchain is implemented across every different aspect of where we live, what we do every day, the economy we are in, the actions that we take, anything. So it would be fun. It should be fun. So all right, I'll begin. So. All right, so yeah, the topic is the impact of blockchain in the current pandemic scenario and how it can affect positively to your career prospects in this scenario. So, and that is what we would be trying to achieve today, and to see how to overcome exactly the pullback effects that are to follow in the post-COVID-19 era, as we just discussed. A brief overview was already given by ma'am about me, so that's it. I believe that I'm at least in a position to talk and discuss these things and help affect some change in your careers. I believe so. All right, so I would like to take a bird's eye view of what the scenario currently is and what most of the people think it is what it is going like, right? So what people think is that effect of COVID-19 is only going to be seen on sectors such as manufacturing, agriculture, laborers, and all these would be the only people who would be losing their jobs, because IT does not get affected because we are already working from home, maybe 24/7 sometimes these days, and but not like that. The actual scenario I would like to tell you is that this pandemic, COVID-19, is going to render a potentially paralyzed economy. And a paralyzed economy itself means that there's high possibilities of recession, which affects every single market, and that that typically includes IT as well. I don't know if I put a slide in here, but I remember back in 2008 when we were seeing that recession. I was not that of age at that time, and I remember that. But still, the facts that I have is in IT itself, we had lost over the months to follow after the 2008 recession. We had lost about 6 lakh jobs, IT jobs. Already the forecast, I don't know if I have a slide here, but already the forecast at the moment because of COVID, it says that in India around 10 crore people would be losing their jobs across all sectors, and out of that 1.5 lakh, that's a pretty small number as compared to 10 crore out there. But out of that 1.5 lakh IT engineers would lose their jobs. But when I compared this to the 2008 number of 6 lakhs IT jobs, it is clearly evident that something like this, which has affected the entire globe, is going to make much more jobs go away, right? Because it's not going to be 1.5 lakhs, it's going to be more than what the number we saw in 2008, and that is a reason to worry, because then you won't be having jobs. You would try, but no one would be hiring. You would be already ousted of your own job, and no one would be hiring, or even if they are hiring, they won't be providing appropriate salary. So this is the effect. This is the dominant effect, you can say, that is going to follow. You cannot avoid that. I don't know how much we will be able to fare well out of this entire situation, how much our government will be able to do ultimately, but it is what it is, right? We have to face it and we have to be prepared. I believe so. So yeah, so that's the bird's eye view. And my answer to that would be trying out a technology like blockchain, essentially, because it is new. It has humongous prospects in career at the moment. At the moment, it has not just at the moment, it has been having those characteristics in terms of career since the last 3-4 years, I would say. I myself have been in blockchain in the last 3.5-4 years, and even back then, I remember that the job opportunity market was pretty equivalent, and it's only exponentially rising, I would say, if you actually look at the market and compare it with the normal generation of the other IT jobs that you have generally out of college, right out of college. To give you a perspective that why I am so much focusing on blockchain, developing skills in blockchain to sustain this COVID-19 and post-pandemic era, just to put that into perspective, just talking about some numbers, so that even though in 20 minutes I can teach blockchain, but at least in 20 minutes I can tell you some numbers, so critical numbers, which will help you understand that why what I'm saying right now is going to help you. Because and why it is correct, and why you should be thinking about it seriously. If you're thinking about anything else seriously, include this in your thought process. I believe it would definitely help. Let's look at some numbers. So this is, I would like to put the most focus on this slide, and just forget it after this if you want. 1 in 400, that's 0.25%. That is the percentage of students who of IT engineers who have any kind of blockchain skills. 1 in 400. So in India at the moment, the structure is, I don't know if I've written it here, at the moment an estimated 2 lakh engineers, IT engineers are there. However, out of that, hardly 5,000 have been totaled to be hardly 5,000 are there who are expected to have some kind of blockchain skills. And maybe some, if you can see the graphic, I spent a lot of time creating this graphic to give you a good perspective. So that is it. That is the perspective. After those 5,000 IT engineers, out of those 2 lakh, hardly some hundreds or thousands are there who have been into fintech, who have been into finance, have a finance background. That somewhat helps them in gaining blockchain skills, essentially, but not really. They are not readily available to take up blockchain positions in various companies, but they are at least somewhat close to gaining some good knowledge and hands-on experience, and they are on the borderline. So they can be easily pushed into the blockchain ecosystem and help with a lot of jobs, a lot of opportunities. But rest of them, everyone, that's more than 99% of the population that is an IT engineer, is having no idea what blockchain is about. Believe me, I've been teaching blockchain quite a lot, especially in this pandemic time, this lockdown time. And one thing that I see everywhere is that back in 2019, I had taken a 2-day lecture at Manav Rachna itself, and even then, back in 2019, even now, just a week ago when I was doing these, the one thing that was constant I was seeing is that people are still not having even the basic idea of what blockchain is and why has blockchain come into the picture? Why was the world requiring a technology like blockchain? Right, so this is something that has struck me quite, and that's why I really put focus on helping you all understand in my lectures that why blockchain, right? That core question, why blockchain? Once that is answered, when that is completely in your mind, everything else just follows. Your skills, your time, your practice, everything just follows, right? So this is the context. So just try to imagine if 1 in 400 IT engineers are just knowing something about blockchain, how easy it would be to come out in the front. How easy would it be to gain some skills quickly, and especially in today's world when everything is online, right? And back in 2017, people really did not have a lot of tutorials and courses available online for blockchain. Nowadays, a lot of people are teaching blockchain. I do teach blockchain, and there are a lot of good courses that are certifications and courses that are available. So just a basic, just a bit of hard work can can just shoot you so much in the front. Just get a perspective out of these numbers, right? Take a screenshot of it and then just remember what these numbers look like. I mean, you will not, so you will not find such numbers in any other IT field, in any other subject related to our IT or computer science. Take artificial intelligence, take machine learning. AI and machine learning were pretty pristine maybe 10 years back. Now they are crowded. Now those areas are crowded. Even I started as a junior data scientist, so I was also in data science and AI. And so everyone I knew was also doing that. So, so I'm pretty much sure that those areas have been crowded because those were brilliant areas which people knew that we have to get into to do something meaningful. And now it is a crowded space, but I can tell you that you won't see such numbers and such low competition in any other field, to be very honest. Right. So going ahead, what's at stake? Salaries for ready to be deployed techies with any kind of blockchain experience are at least twice that of a techie without blockchain experience. And this is this was, I think, said by the MD of Randstad India. I don't know the name. I've forgotten the name. And he's very right here, because I would love to share a personal anecdote. When I was coming out of college, the package that was offered to me by any MNC in the country, a couple of MNCs in the country which I got into, and as compared to the package that I was offered from a simple blockchain-based company. They were just building blockchain products. They were into the blockchain ecosystem. They were doing, I'm not talking about cryptocurrencies. I'm just talking about blockchain, pure core blockchain products, right? And it was 2.5 times. So it is very rightly said here that Abhishek, it is at least twice. Yeah. Abhishek, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. I think we are running out of time. And one question is coming in my mind, like you have talked about data science. Right. So one question that comes to my mind is how blockchain will disrupt data science.
So, ma'am, I would like to say that I don't think blockchain would disrupt data science as such, because they are typically pretty different fields. But yeah, one thing that I would love to say is that what I believe personally, because I've been into both the sectors, is because essentially when we are talking about data science, it's all about big data coming from all sources, right? That's what big data is, right? And it could be IoT. So why data science only? Data science combined with a technology like Internet of Things. When these come together, there's a lot of data that we produce, right? Now, when you put that now what people face, the problem people face is that they cannot depend on a lot of kinds of data. That's why data scientists are there, because they have to first clean the data. They have to make sure the data is in line with the aspects that the company or the organization wants it to be, to take important business discussions and decisions based on that data. So I would like to say that when blockchain comes into the picture and everything is transparent. So for example, if implement, like IBM Food Trust is implementing blockchain in the supply chain management, right? When they do that, they generate a lot of data from their entire supply chain, which is humongous, which is spread across the world. So just imagine the kind of data they would be generating out of that, and they perform sciences on that, which is essentially what data science is all about, and they do it all on blockchain. So a very good question, ma'am. So it's a disruption would be in terms of, I believe, the transparency, and then the belief and the faith that organizations can like just close their eyes and have faith on the data that comes out of these systems, when these systems work hand in hand, and the quick decisions that any organization would have to make, would be able to make based on these immense sources of data, that are transparent, that are public, that are verified, that are authenticated is going to be pretty interesting. I think these use cases would be pretty interesting wherever applied, just like IBM is doing right now. So yeah, that should be one answer to your question. You can just check out what IBM Food Trust is doing and how it is disrupting supply chain management and big data and IoT and all these sectors by the use of blockchain. Food Trust is a blockchain by IBM. Yeah.
Neha, are you there? Neha?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you see any question in the question answer section?
Yes, I am seeing. I have asked that question from Mr. Siddharth.
Okay, so
And one
no
question is
from Mr.
no. For Abhishek, there is no question yet. Let him complete the presentation and then we'll see the questions.
There is one question in my mind, Abhishek. Here you are talking about COVID-19. The question is that how blockchain could be an answer to career loss and upskilling ourselves to sustain the post-COVID-19 era. Can you answer that?
Yes, ma'am. So as I explained in the entire in all my slides, exactly is that. So that is where I was actually. So you can understand that why. So as I said in the beginning, ma'am, that what the students and everyone, not just students, everyone who's in jobs currently, especially IT jobs. I'm talking about IT jobs because that is what I deal with. Those are the people I deal with. Those are the people I teach. So when they will be losing jobs, it will essentially because they would be becoming redundant, not essentially in the truest sense of IT engineering or IT requirements. But they would be becoming redundant when the projects would be less, when the deals would be less, and there would be less work to do. So any company, just let's take an example. Any company would not like to have 10,000 Java engineers when they do not have projects, right? Because they have to pay them, right? But when there's a technology where, and because you can any day, if there's plenty of Java engineers available in the country, so if anyone is asking maybe 10 lakhs per annum, anyone else will be asking for 8 lakhs per annum. So any day you can go for that 8 lakhs guy, right? Because there is so much supply of that particular talent in the market. But when we talk about blockchain, and as I just showed you, ma'am, just in the previous slide, that 1 in 400 IT engineers know something about blockchain. So this, ma'am, essentially tells you that if you even are having some skills in blockchain, it is going to help you come out of that career problems or the career lows in this post COVID-19 era, because you will be standing out. You can just see how people are standing out here, just 0.25% of it, right? So you can easily stand out, right? That would be my answer.
Then how would we learn blockchain? Because for this answer, we need to learn blockchain. No?
Right. So I actually I just had some 3-4 slides remaining, which I'm not going to take a lot of time on. That's where I was on after this is. So how to build a career in blockchain technology? I'll just cover it in 1 minute, actually. So I would like you to, every one of you to start by getting into the basics of computer science. Whatever you read, whatever you learned in your 4 years of engineering, maybe. If you didn't do, just do some basic computer science and you should be good to go. Blockchain is different, as I said in the beginning. It feels different. It is a different technology, but ultimately everything is happening on a computer system, and the core concepts do apply, right? Hash trees apply, hash graphs apply. Everything is just the same. Next would be step 2 would be to learn about blockchain, where I start from whenever I teach. Start with basics of blockchain. Spend as much time as possible on the basics, because this is different than what you studied in your 4 years of engineering. So if this foundation is not very strong, you will face a lot of problems, right? Then I would like to tell you that to get into blockchain professionally, commercially, these are some of the frameworks. Just take a screenshot of it. Just search for it online. Truffle, Web3, Remix. Remix is an online IDE on which you create smart contracts. Smart contracts and all these are concepts that take a lot of time to teach. But these are core blockchain concepts. These are very important concepts. These are what earn you a lot of money if you're planning a career in blockchain. And there's a new language called Solidity. It is used for creating Ethereum smart contracts on Ethereum. A bit looks like Java, but is a different language, but easy to pick up if you're serious about it. And all these are wallets, and you have to learn blockchain essentially. I cannot cover it in 20 minutes because these are difficult concepts, but give at least 8 to 10 days to learn blockchain, and you'll thank yourself, right, for those 8 to 10 days. And yeah, at the end, as I said, learn to write smart contracts and build apps. Just like you build Android apps now, build decentralized applications. It's a whole new world out there. So yeah, that would be it. So that's it. Yeah, thank you. I think that was it. Yeah, I think that should help you come out of any post-COVID-19 lows that you might face. I hope you don't face, any of you don't face that. But yeah, they should help you come out and stand out of the crowd. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Siddharth. Thank you so much, Abhishek, for sharing of your knowledge in such a very nice way. Thank you so much. And I would also like to thank Dr. Anupma and Dr. Neha to organize a session in such a nice way.